A team of black market scavengers hires a survivor to lead them into the dead zone no one walks out of. But their guide isn't telling the whole truth, and the orchard still remembers his name. The Bone, Orchard, Chapter 1. Trespassers. They crossed into Orchard 12 just before dusk. The fence line was sagging, rusted razor wire tangled like an open wound in the tree line. Beyond it, nothing but rows of apple trees that hadn't grown fruit in 9 years. And yet they hadn't died either. They were green. They were thriving. The last time Jude Varn saw this place, he set it on fire. "Smells too clean," said Holder, the youngest of the crew. He held a modified M4 low at his hip, twitchy as hell. "Like someone scrubbed the whole damn forest." Jude muttered, "That smells formaldehyde. They used to dump it under the roots, kept the bugs down." "Yeah, and the people?" grunted Trig, the crew lead. She spat into the dirt and kept moving. "'Cause I don't see bones. I don't see ash. And this place is supposed to be a graveyard." "Not all graves are marked," Jude replied. They pushed forward between the rows, 5 mercs and 1 guide. Jude didn't speak unless asked. He kept one hand on the grip of his revolver, the other resting near the old burn scar on his ribs that still itched in cold air. The orchard felt colder now, wrong cold, like a breath down your spine. The sun dipped low. Shadows stretched long between the trunks. They found the deer 20 minutes in. Fresh kill, ribcage split, eyes wide and still wet. No flies, no stink, no time for decay. "Not a scavenger," said Trig. "Clean cut, look at the muscle line." Surgical Jude crouched low. "It's watching us," Holder snorted. "The deer?" "No." They made camp just past Sector B, the remains of a quarantine shed half swallowed by vines. Trig posted 2 on watch. Holder volunteered. Jude stayed up anyway. The fire they built burned low and red. Jude refused to look at the trees. They leaned inward, like they were listening. "What really happened here?" Holder asked him, eyes flicking toward the dark. "No one's ever said." "You got paid to walk, not talk," Jude replied. "Right, but you're the only one who came out alive last time." Jude looked at him. "That's what they say, isn't it?" Holder didn't ask again. The night cracked open just before 2 a.m. A scream tore through the trees, cut off halfway. Not human, not animal, something in between. The fire hissed. A breeze rolled through that carried no sound. No insects, no wind, just silence so thick it pressed on the ears. And then came the whisper. "Jude!" He stood up fast, gun drawn. "Perimeter breach," he barked. Trig was already on her feet. "Where?" "It's in the trees," Holder pointed, trembling. No, it's here." They turned. A shape stood just outside the firelight. Human, ragged, blood at the eyes, face too still. Skin blistered from some old, deep burn. It didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. It just looked at Jude. "That's not possible," he whispered. "What the hell is that?" Trig demanded. Jude didn't answer. The thing opened its mouth. "You left us." Holder fired first. 3 rounds, chest, neck, shoulder. The figure dropped, hard, fast. Trig moved in to confirm the kill, but the body was gone. No blood, no tracks, only a smear of ash where it had fallen. Trig muttered, "Was that a bleeder?" Jude's hands trembled. "Not just a bleeder," he said, voice dry. "That was Cal Brenner." "Who the hell is Cal Brenner?" Jude looked down at the ash, eyes hollow. "The man I left behind the day this place died." Chapter 2. What bleeds in the orchard. Trig didn't sleep. None of them did, not after the figure in the firelight vanished like ash on wind. They moved camp before sunrise, deeper into the orchard. Jude said the interior was more stable. That was a lie. He just didn't want to sleep where Cal Brenner had stood. "We confirm what we came for," Trig said, checking her rifle's battery. "Then we're gone, in and out. We're not here to settle old ghosts." "They're not ghosts," Jude replied. She paused. "Then what the hell are they?" Jude looked through the trees. "I don't know, but they remember things." By midday, the trees began to change. Leaves turned darker, bark more elastic, not rotten, but flexible, like cartilage with skin over it. Holder touched one trunk and yanked his hand back. "It's warm," he said. "They feed through the roots," Jude murmured. "Everything under here is still alive." "You mean people?" Jude didn't answer. That afternoon, they reached the facility. Half collapsed, its eastern wing buried in roots. It had once been a biotech outpost, run by a PMC trying to reclaim the orchard after the collapse. No one ever confirmed what happened to the team that stayed behind. Jude had an idea. He'd helped light the fire that never quite burned it all down. They entered through the western breach, 2 floors down, hollowed from rot and time. A mainframe console still blinked red from backup power. Trig worked fast, cracking data logs. Holder stood watch at the hall. Jude drifted into the med lab, past shattered glass and rusted IV poles. There, he found something new. A figure, still breathing. A woman, curled in the corner like she'd been waiting. Her skin was wrong, too pale, veins dark as bruises, eyes red-rimmed but awake. She didn't move when Jude entered. She just looked at him and whispered, "You came back late." Jude said, "Who are you?" She smiled weakly. "One of the ones you left, but I didn't forget you." Jude backed away, heart thudding. "You're not human anymore." "I was. You were too." She raised a shaking finger. "You don't bleed like you used to, Jude." "Do you?" Trig's voice cracked through comms. "We've got movement. North corridor. Full speed." Jude bolted back, gun drawn. Holder was already firing. Something moved fast through the hallway, slamming against the walls, grunting. Too heavy for a man. Too coordinated for an animal. Then the lights died. Total dark. Then screams. One of the mercs, Levin's, was dragged away, rifle scraping the floor. "Contact!" Trig roared. Her muzzle flash lit the corridor in bursts. They hit something. Something big. But it didn't fall. It just disappeared into shadow with a deep, wet inhale. When the lights returned, Levin's was gone. Only his boots remained. Still laced, still warm. Jude noticed blood. Not sprayed. Painted in wide hand smears across the walls. Words. "We remember." That night, they camped in silence. Only 3 left now. Trig, Holder, Jude. Holder hadn't spoken since Levin's vanished. Just stared into the trees, fingers twitching. Jude sat apart from them, turning a page in his old field notebook. Page 72 was missing. He didn't remember tearing it out, but he remembered what was on it. Brenner. The first one who screamed. The first one who didn't die clean. Then came the voice. Again. Over the portable comm, not over open air. "Jude. Page 72. Read it. It's time to remember what you did." Jude's breath caught, because the voice wasn't from the woman in the facility. Wasn't a bleeder. It was his. Chapter 3. The fire wasn't an accident. They moved camp again, this time without a word between them. Only 3 of them now. Jude, Trig, Holder, and something else out there that dragged a grown man away like a child's toy. They didn't bother with fire. The orchard didn't care about light. It had its own eyes. They stopped in the shell of a half-collapsed orchard shack. Peeling paint, rusted hooks on the wall, the scent of old chemicals thick in the dirt. Jude sat near the doorway, watching the trees sway, even though there was no wind. Holder cleaned his rifle like it might bleed. Trig paced like she was waiting for a confession. She didn't have to wait long. "So," she said quietly, "you gonna tell us what the hell happened here 9 years ago?" Jude didn't answer. "Brenna knew you," she continued, "and that thing in the med lab called you by name. This isn't your first time in the orchard." "I didn't say it was," Jude muttered. He didn't say anything. Holder stopped cleaning, watched. Trig stepped forward. "You were a firefighter, right? First response unit." Jude looked up slowly. "I was the one who lit the fire." Silence. Trig blinked. "What?" "The orchard burned in 2028 because I torched it." Jude's voice didn't shake, but something in his chest did. "There was a lab buried under Sector D. It wasn't legal. The trees were engineered to survive drought, war, collapse. But something in the process mutated." "What mutated?" Holder asked. Jude looked at him. "Memory." He stood, walked to the door, stared into the trees. "The trees learned what we fed them. Blood, rot, grief. And the longer they grew, the more they remembered the people who died in their roots." "So, you burned it," Trig said coldly. "Tried to. But the fire didn't kill them. It changed them." Jude pulled something from his coat, a melted ID badge, scorched beyond recognition. "I found this on Brenner's body the day he died. Only, he didn't die. Not clean. He bled from the eyes, just like now." "You're saying they never died?" "I'm saying the orchard kept them. And I think it kept part of me too." Trig's face shifted, hard to read, calm, but eyes tight. She drew her sidearm. "That's all I needed to hear." "What?" Holder blinked. Trig kept her gun leveled at Jude. "We weren't hired to bring out whatever tech's still buried in this zone. We were hired to bring you." Jude didn't flinch. "Alive? Preferably. But bleeding's fine too." Holder looked between them. "Wait, what the hell?" Trig shoved him hard, slamming him into the wall. "Stay out of this. You lied to me. We were never getting paid to split scrap, Holder. The man who caused the orchard event. That fetches a bounty." Jude raised his hands. "Then you should have shot me the minute we walked in." Trig's smile was bitter. "I wanted to hear your story first. Get a clean tape. Then maybe let the orchard finish what you started." The wall behind her exploded. Roots punched through the paneling, thick as wrists, writhing like eels. One wrapped around her ankle, fast, and yanked her backward out of the shack. She screamed, gun clattered. Gone. Jude dove for the weapon. Holder stood frozen, staring into the door. The roots slithered back like they'd tasted something bitter. Jude pulled Trig's rifle close, breathing hard. "They didn't want her." Holder whispered, "Why not?" Jude looked at him. "Because she didn't light the match." Chapter 4. What remembers you, hunts you. Jude and Holder moved at dawn. They didn't talk about Trig, didn't mention the sound she made when the roots took her. There wasn't a body left, only her boots, sidearm, and a trail of soil-slick drag marks leading back into the trees. "Where are we going?" Holder asked. "Sector D," Jude said. "Back where it started." The orchard grew denser the deeper they went. Branches above wove into a ceiling of gnarled limbs. The light changed, went coppery, slow. The trees weren't just alive. They were listening, and they were done pretending otherwise. Every trunk they passed bore something new. Faces, pressed into the bark like wax under heat. Mouths half open, eyes closed. Some bore names carved below them, some didn't need them. Jude stopped at one tree in particular. Its bark split down the center, eyes weeping black-red. "That's me," he said. Holder whispered, "How's that possible?" "Because I never made it out clean." Sector D was a crater now, a sunken bowl of twisted scaffolding, vines the size of snakes coiled through the wreckage. At the center stood the black core of the biotech lab, a single reinforced structure still intact, but it pulsed, breathing. Holder stepped forward. Jude caught his shoulder. "Stay behind me. If I don't come out, you burn the tree line." "With what?" "Trig's detonators. I took them before the orchard took her." Holder looked at him like he wasn't sure if Jude was being noble or suicidal. "Why now?" he asked. Jude stared at the breathing lab. "Because I hear them when I sleep now, the ones we left behind." Inside the lab, it was wet. Moss covered the walls like skin. The air reeked of blood and antiseptic. Monitors flickered with no signal. In the center of the room, a chair, and in the chair, Brenner. Still, upright, breathing shallow, tubed into the roots. "You came back," Brenner rasped. "You're alive." "Not in the way you remember." Brenner's eyes bled steadily. Not tears, not infection, just memory leaking out. "We became part of it," he said. "It feeds off us, not just flesh. It learned from our minds." Jude stepped closer. "And what does it want now?" "It wants you." Roots burst from the floor, too fast to run. They slammed into Jude's chest, wrapping around his ribs, his throat, his legs. They didn't crush. They held. And then they dug in. Pain like glass under the skin. Images, flashes, flooded his brain. The fire, screams. His hand on the gas line. A voice whispering, "We'll cover it up." Then his own face, years younger, watching people burn. The orchard wasn't killing him. It was downloading him. He screamed, but couldn't move. And then something strange happened. The roots paused. The chair was empty. Brenner was gone. And across the room stood a version of Jude. Younger, sharper, mouth curled into a bitter smile. "The orchard doesn't want your guilt," it said. "It wants your memory, your shape. It's not building soldiers, it's building stories. That's how it survives." Jude clenched his jaw. He still had Trig's detonator pack tucked in his belt. He pressed it. The light turned red. "Then let it tell this story," he whispered. Outside, Holder saw the bloom of fire erupt from Sector D. A deep-throated roar. Black smoke curling like tongues. He didn't run, just watched, waited. And in the firelight, the trees leaned back, just slightly, as if exhaling. Jude's body was never recovered. But weeks later, another scavenger passing through a neighboring zone found a patch of forest. New, lush, alive. In the center stood an apple tree, taller than the rest. Its bark was scorched. Its trunk bore a face, eyes closed, smiling, and carved beneath it, "I remember."